So we have Kaileigh, our new senior planner for City of Dearborn, although I don't know you're that new anymore. But unfortunately, we've been kind of cycling through planners, but I'd like to welcome Kaileigh to speak. If you want, I can share or add you as host or something here so you can share.
That'd be great. Yes, thanks.
Let's see. Let's try that.
Okay, great. Can everyone see it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So first of all, thank you, Tim, for extending an invitation. I'm my first public presentation to a community group, so I'm excited. Thank you for the opportunity. As you noted, I recently took over this position about 6 months ago at this time, but correct, quarantine time is something else. Goes a little differently. So I thought today we could talk about some of the major things that the division has been working on, and some things coming up where I think that there would be another great opportunity for us to engage with you guys moving forward. So the first thing that I thought we could review is the multimodal transportation plan, just an update on that. So that was adopted in early October of this year. And really what this plan does is define current and future community needs around transportation within the city. This is the city's first comprehensive multimodal plan. And so it's really groundbreaking in regards to kind of setting a vision forward. From what I understand, there was a presentation to the organization to your group specifically at some point. So to some, this might seem familiar. But yeah, we're moving into the implementation stage of this plan, which is really the exciting part, I think, but also the part where there's a lot of work, because really what this is kind of reframing how we make decisions related to our road networks, and how we allocate our funds, how we work with other organizations, including other municipal entities like Wayne County and the state, in regards to coordinating how we're making those investments in our transportation networks. But the exciting part is that now that it's adopted formally by council, there's an opportunity for us to kind of leverage the plan for grant funding, and really from a policy making perspective. So this has been one of the really exciting developments within the past year or so, is this becoming formally adopted. One of the other opportunities that we had from the city was working on a community investment prospectus. What this is a opportunity for the city to highlight what is called our opportunity zones. And for those not familiar, opportunity zones are essentially a way for private investment to be encouraged in what the federal government defines as economically distressed neighborhoods. So for the city of Dearborn, this is mostly within our South End area, like Salina neighborhood, as well as in some portions of our East Downtown. And really, it's an opportunity for us to kind of capture those funds and be able to encourage development within those areas. So the focus that we had for this Investors Summit, which was really attracting investors from all around the nation. So it was a really exciting opportunity for the city. And we focused on the historical significance of Dearborn in regards to transportation. Not only with Henry Ford and the development of the Ford, Rouge factory complex, but in looking to today with their continued investment in regards to mobility. So the electric F-150 plant, as well as the new Ford Research and Engineering campus that will be located, along Oakwood, right outside of our downtown area. And in looking to the future, the role that Dearborn can have in logistics. So in looking at the Detroit Intermodal Freight Terminal and the Gordie Howe Bridge and how that positions Dearborn to take advantage really of freight and the role that that can play in its economic success. There we go. So one of the other things is in 2019, the city adopted its first form-based code. Really what this is a ordinance that puts more focus on how developments look as opposed to kind of what their use is. And it created more stricter standards in regards to how a development has to be oriented. So in creating opportunities for them to add to a walkable, pedestrian-oriented downtown. And this is the city's first form-based ordinance. So there's been some changes that we've made since its original adoption to really ensure that really the implementation of this continues to be successful. It's small things at this point that we've made revisions to really encourage a wider variety of uses to be able to occupy these areas. For example, allowing libraries and museums to be located essentially within this red district that's our required storefront area, as well as a studio use, which can be capture a wide variety of different uses. So some might be something like a paint and pour, right? So a pottery-based business that may want to be located, within our downtown, to like a fitness center. Potentially how they operate could be considered a studio use, like a yoga studio. And so those were some small modifications that were made to the ordinance in order, once again, to really try and add to the walkable nature of the downtown and really focus on kind of the form of the development as well. And the biggest thing that we've actually been working on is a master plan update. So the City of Dearborn master plan was adopted in 2014, and by state law, each city is required to kind of formally review a master plan every 5 years. And based on that, there's essentially 3 different outcomes. The first can be that the Planning Commission and planning staff can review it and say, the plan is still relevant, no updates are needed. The second is that the plan is still relevant, but there are some changes that should be documented, or some updates that should be included within the planning document, or that the plan is outdated and a new master plan document in its entirety is required. And the Planning Commission made the determination that, in general, a lot of the goals, objectives, and kind of like the meat of the document is still relevant and still has a lot of good information, but some updates are required. And so really what we've been focusing on is how to kind of encapsulate a lot of the changes that have taken place even over the past 5 years. So some of that is like revising the implementation framework. So for example, I apologize, it's kind of tiny print now that I'm seeing it on the screen. But there is essentially an implementation framework in the master plan that talks about things and the order in which they should be implemented. So for example, in the 2014 plan, some high priority objectives were things like creating a form-based code, because at that time, the form-based code didn't exist. So for example, that would be an update that we'd be looking to make, is to say that, we accomplished the form-based code within the West Downtown, and we're still looking to implement that within the East Downtown. But that would be like an update to the implementation framework. Another example is the MMTP, the Multimodal Transportation Plan, which within the master plan is referred to as an intermodal or a non-motorized plan. The title changed, but essentially the planning document itself stayed relatively the same. But that would be an example of kind of something that we could cross off this implementation list of things that were accomplished. In addition, it would be looking at, for example, with the multimodal transportation plan, how do we include language and the goals, objectives, and the overall vision of that into the master plan as well, to really encourage and create consistency within the planning documents. And that's important because when things are integrated into our master plan, it really does open up a lot of opportunity in regards to grants and funding, because one of the things that is really looked at is kind of plainly speaking is like, how serious is a community about X? So for example, how serious is the community about investing in bicycle lanes and creating, a bicycle network throughout the city? So that would be something that we would look to incorporate in the master plan in order to kind of best leverage funding, and kind of, illustrate our, how strongly we feel about implementing that within the city of Dearborn. The other thing is to provide an opportunity kind of more formally for community feedback in regards to community goals and objectives. So a big portion of a master plan update is community engagement. And that has kind of taken a little bit of a back seat just due to COVID, because a lot of the things that we were looking to do were in-person meetings, just from an equity standpoint to ensure that, people were able to participate to the best of their ability. And so that's something that we've kind of pushed back, but has allowed us to focus on some other things as well. But now that, we're kind of settling into a more formal normal, that's one of the things that we will be moving forward with is, having community meetings, whether those are in Zoom, or, now that we've had some time to kind of formulate how we could kind of function online, and what our opportunities we have to like provide surveys online, collect information, and solicit feedback from community members on that type of platform. We're really looking to push that forward in the next couple of months. And so that's something that I look forward to hopefully being able to attend again when we have an opportunity for, more formal focus on the master plan. And so I look forward to joining you guys again then. So that's kind of generally where I think our focus has been. So I have my information on the screen. I definitely feel free to reach out and contact me if you have any questions moving forward. And I'm happy to take any questions now as well, or just even general comments. Be happy to hear anything.
Is your department also in charge of getting these vacant spaces that we have to be filled with, like retail instead of a lot of a restaurant, some variety?
So to a certain extent, so one of the things that we focus on is like zoning. So what can go there? So like depending on what a property is zoned, right? It can either limit what can go in there, or can kind of, provide additional opportunities for, what can occur within that area. So to some extent, a little bit, and that's actually been something that we've been focusing on in the form-based code area within our downtown, with some of these areas, that may be experiencing some vacancies or in anticipation that there might be. How can we kind of, formulate a code that might allow for some additional flexibility?
Okay.
Kaileigh, so I don't know if you have the answer. I haven't talked to Dave Norwood in a week or three now. Any updates on the bike lanes and outer drive now that they're finally working on paving between Michigan Avenue and Military?
Yes, so we did get some good news on that, in that because of where they are at in the pavement schedule and how late it is in the season, what they're actually going to be putting down until the spring is essentially like temporary markings. So they're not meant to last, but they're really supposed to just be for like through the winter almost. Which is good because it allows for some additional time for them to review our plans. We're still having some back and forth in regards to kind of like what is permitted and what meets their standards, you know, based upon what our engineering team and Smith Group had provided for the plans. But that's a really great example of like when we're talking about the implementation of the multimodal plan, these are exactly the type of things, you know, that we need to have kind of a more formal framework for. Like, how are we communicating with Wayne County consistently, you know, not only just about like, you know, one specific project, but really for all of the county roads. And so, you know, to ensure that when they're doing updates to their road network, that we're able to leverage that as an opportunity to kind of implement what we have, you know, planned for that area.
Then do you have any, and again, because this is all new, right? And you know, I'm dealing with the health of Dearborn stuff, so I see some of it, but like, do you have any plans or any ideas or stuff like where this might, some of this, because a lot of the bike lanes and bike route stuff is the kind of the low hanging fruit, right? In the plan, in the multimodal plan. So like, do you have any ideas of where some of this stuff might get implemented going forward? I know it's all new yet, but
Yeah. So I think one of the things that I've been working with engineering is based on their repavement schedule. So what things they currently have slated for the next couple of years, and kind of like overlapping that with our plan to see if there are opportunities to use what they currently have slated. Um, One of the things that is definitely coming down the pipeline, probably a bit sooner rather than later, I would say in the next couple of years, is the Joe Louis Greenway, which is a bike project that is really being speared by the city of Detroit. But they have a kind of a trailhead, you could so to speak, right outside of kind of where Lanyo neighborhood is. And so there are some things like that where, because there's an opportunity for a connection and kind of a need to ensure like bicycle safety kind of thing, that's one of the things that I anticipate, at least within the next 5 years, that we would, a big connection, I would say, because it's also it would be a regional trail, that I anticipate that we'll be looking to kind of make during that time. But yeah, a part of it too is really, now that it's a formal plan, and now that we'll be including it in the master plan as well, is having an opportunity to actually seek funding out through our our capital improvement plan process, to kind of prioritize some of the roads that we think are really integral to making like a cohesive network, because we really can't rely just on a repavement schedule from engineering, because that might not necessarily create a good bicycle network, right, if we're just relying on that.
right. Anybody else have any questions? I just go to bikes because, you know, that's my thing. So
It's exciting. It's honestly, it's a really exciting time, kind of in the beginning implementation stages, because it's so new, you know, and luckily, you know, we're to some extent being able to learn from other communities about how they've pursued it at this point. But it's a huge thing, not only economic development perspective, but, you know, equity, environmental. So I'm with you. It's an exciting project.
I have a question. I don't know if it goes under your field or not, but my husband, we're talking about kayaking launches in the area, you know, and stuff. And he just did it the other day, going down where the cement area is and by Florida State and that. And he's been watching things on virtual. They've been doing things about going down, you could take it downtown and stuff like that. Is there anything in your planning with the water?
Do you know there actually is? So there is it's essentially the Rouge River Kayak Grant that we have,
Okay.
that we're currently still in the planning stages for, but we were awarded a grant from the DNR to essentially put in 2 kayak dock launches within the city. And these were, one would be at the golf course, and the other would be at Ford Field. And so to kind of make a connection between those 2 points in order for there to be actually like a formal kayak dock launch. So it'd be like a floating dock essentially, that people would be able to use. So that is actually something that is currently underway, and we're really excited for, because the Rouge River is such an amazing asset for the city, and to kind of be able to encourage people to be able to utilize it safely, right, for recreational purposes, is a really good step forward in kind of, you know, encouraging like responsible use of the river, right? And, you know, there have been issues with, you know, like cement being thrown in there, and just from like a perspective of like how we take care of our resources, you know. So I think that the recreational component offers a really great opportunity for everyone to be able to kind of, you know, enjoy the river in a way that they haven't been historically.
Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to claim host back.
Oh yeah. I might have to. Do I have to give it to you, or?
It says I'm the host now. Maybe.
Oh, okay, perfect.
I think. I don't know. It says.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it did.
Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
There it is.
Perfect.
To go back to, where do I want to go back to? This one. All right. So, Kaileigh, thanks for joining. I know this is we're all still learning how this stuff works on Zoom, and trying to get people to join meetings and stuff, and still try to plan and do stuff while we're all still kind of not able to meet, you know. So
Yeah, I totally understand. I really do appreciate you extending an invitation, and I look forward to joining you guys again in the future.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I am going to hop off. I have a city council meeting, but thank you guys again so much. I appreciate it, and have a wonderful rest of the evening.
all right, thank you. You too.
Yes, thanks. Bye, guys.